Welcome. Have a nice day. Today is Saturday, 8th of March 2025. This day is internationally famous for the International Women's Day. Vladimir Lenin declared March 8 as the International Women's Day in 1922 to honor the women's role in 1917 Russia's revolution. It was subsequently celebrated on that day by socialist movement and communist countries. The holiday became a mainstream global holiday following its promotion by United Nations in 1977. Now, starting the newspaper with the world news, including United States drops pit to make a Google sell artificial intelligence investments in antitrust case. South Africa rejects megaphone diplomacy as comeback's funding cut. Trump administration cuts $400 million in grants to Columbia University over the anti-Semitism allegations. United States central bank in no rush amid a heightened uncertainty under Trump, says Fed chair. Faithful Hair Pope Francis voiced for the first time in 3 weeks. Scores killed as Syria forces seek to crush Al-Wayt insurgency. Now, starting with the Hindu newspaper, we have International Women's Day when a woman marched for bread and roses. A Women's Day in 1914 demanding voting rights for women. A closer look at the history shows this day has its roots in the women's struggle that erupted after the Industrial Revolution, with the women workers from trade unions mobilizing for their rights, specifically garment workers in New York rising for better wages and working conditions. International Women's Day is observed worldwide every March 8. Heads of states, governments, and private players and commercial brands send out messages celebrating women's equality and empowerment, but often without acknowledging its historical roots. What is the history behind International Women's Day is actually a closer look at the history shows that this day had its roots in women's struggle that erupted after the Industrial Revolution, with women workers from trade unions mobilizing for their rights, specifically garment workers in New York rising for better wages and working conditions. The movement took its inspiration from the socialist and anti-imperialist struggle of the early 20th century. American working class women participating in political activity is several demonstrations in the demand of the woman franchise and political rights of proletarian women or women workers have preceded the Women's Day. Alexander Kollontai, a Russian revolutionary and a politician, marked the American Socialist Women's Demonstration in 1909 as the first celebration of the Women's Day. She credited the working class women of America for organizing the first Women's Day. In an article on International Women's Day published in 1920, Kollontai wrote, "Socialists in the North America insisted upon their demands for the vote with a particular persistence." On the 28th of February 1909, the Women Socialists of the United States of America organized huge demonstrations and meetings all over the country demanding political rights for women working women. This was the first Women's Day. The initiative of organizing a Women's Day thus belongs to the working women of America. She wrote that even before the First World War, the food crisis and economic exploitation galvanized the most peaceful housewife to take an interest in the questions of politics and to protest loudly against the bourgeois economy of plunder. Like I had Trump says that the lumber tariffs on Canada may come soon. A freight truck carrying lumber crosses the border from the Canada to United States, as seen from the Champlain, New York, United States, on March 5, 2025. We may do it as as today, or we will wait till Monday or Tuesday. Trump said of the lumber and dairy sectors, which have long been affected by trade disputes between the neighbors. United States President Donald Trump said Friday, March 7, 2025, that he could impose reciprocal tariffs on the Canadian dairy and lumber recent days, a move set to fuel tensions with Ottawa just a day after an earlier wave of levies. Since taking office in the month of January, Mr. Trump has unleashed a series of tariffs and threats targeting United States allies and adversaries, including duties of to 25% on imports from Canada and Mexico. On Thursday, March 6, 2025, he provided the vital trading partners temporary reprieve, exempting goods coming in the from both the countries under the North American Trade Pact. But he vowed for reciprocal tariffs as soon as April 2nd, aimed at remedying practices that Washington deems unfair. Clashes in Syria coastal region between government forces and Assad loyalists killed more than 70. Syrian forces riot on military vehicle as they head to Latakia after fighters linked to Syria's ousted leader Bashar al-Assad mounted a deadly attack on government forces on Thursday. Authorities said in some of the worst violence against the government since the Islamist-led rebels seized power in Aleppo, Syria on March 6, 2025. A war monitor says that clashes between the Syrian security forces and gunmen loyal to former President Bashar al-Assad in the country's coastal region have left more than 70 people dead and the area outside the government control. Clashes between Syrian security forces and gunmen loyal to former President Bashar al-Assad in the country's coastal region have left more than 70 people dead and an area outside the government control, a war monitor said Friday, March 7, 2025. Government forces sent major reinforcements overnight to the cities of Latakia and Tartus, as well as the nearby the towns and villages that are the heartland of the minority Alaviti sect and base of support for Assad. To try to get the situation under control, state media reported Russia bombards Ukraine's energy grid after Zelensky says he will hold talks with the United States. A view shows a residential building damaged by Russian military strikes and aimed at Russia's attack on Ukraine, the frontline town of the Pokrovsk in the Diti Wantask region, Ukraine, March 6, 2025. Ukraine come under a massive missile and drone attack. Energy Minister Herman Holsukchenko wrote on Facebook at least 10 people, including a child, were injured. The authorities confirmed Russia targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure in a large-scale missile and drone bombardment during the night. Officials said March 7, 2025, hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said talks within the United States on ending the three-year war will take place next week. Ukraine came under a massive missile and drone attack. Energy Minister Herman Holsukchenko wrote on Facebook at least 10 people, including the child, were injured, authorities said. Now going towards the Hindustan Times newspaper states that over 65 fighters battle ongoing blaze in Udaipur Sajangra sanctuary. 2017 first fire in the area of adjacent to the Eklingra army cantonment in the Udaipur, over 65 fighters with the 14 fire tenders from at least 5 fire stations have been working to bring the spreading of fire in the Udaipur Sajangra wildlife sanctuary under the control as it continues to rage for the fourth day. The fire that erupted on March 4 was initially concentrated in Bahiro Bagh and its surrounding areas near the sanctuary, but now the flames are spreading towards the hills of the Sajangra Monsoon Palace in Udaipur, said an official. No casualty has been reported until Friday afternoon. Entry of tourists in the Monsoon Palace and in the neighboring park was restricted for the second consecutive day on Friday. Residential areas near the sanctuary were evacuated as senior officials, including the collector, superintendent of police SP, and the district divisional forest officer DFO, supervised the rescue operation. Supreme Court heard Pegasus snooping case on April 22nd. The court noted several petitions about the same matter were not listed. The Supreme Court on Friday said it will be on April 22nd here a bunch of petitions related to the Pegasus snooping case. The matter relates to allegations that the Pegasus spyware was used to target Indian politicians, activists, journalists, and business persons. The case was last effectively heard in a month of August 2022. A bench of Justice Surya Kant and Koteswar Singh deferred the hearing as it took up a journalist's Paranjoy Guha Thakur's petition. It noted several petitions about the same matter were not listed with the Thakur's Pilia. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, representing the Union government, and the senior counsel Kapil Sibal, appearing for the Thakurta, agreed on the hearing of matter on another day when all related petitions could be listed together. Israeli cyber intelligence firm NSO Group's Pegasus is a military-grade spyware capable of remotely infiltrating mobile devices, enabling surveillance of calls, messages, photos, and even activating the microphone on or camera. The NSO Group has maintained that Pegasus is only sold to government agencies for counterterrorism and law enforcement purposes. Cybersecurity experts and forensic analysts assisted the Justice Ravindran-led probe committee. The panel included experts from the institutions such as the National Forensic Science University, Gandhinagar, Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, and Kerala, and the Indian Institute of Bomb Technology in Bombay. The committee faced multiple deadline extensions before submitting its final report in the month of August 2022. Now, going to the economy of the country from the business point of view, News SEBI chief Tohin Kantapande vows to improve trust. Plans to disclose the conflict of interest in the report to public. Tohin Kantapande, who took over as chairman on March 1st, has said the capital markets regulator will engage with the foreign portfolio investors to understand their difficulties and improve ease of operation for them. The statement comes as Tohin Kantapande, a predecessor, Madhubai Puri Bakch, came under the attack from the United States-based short seller Hindenburg Research for having conflict of interest. Indian agriculture sector must open up, says the United States Commerce Secretary. Think tank Global Trade and Research Institute (GTRI) Guthrie, responding to Lutnick's comments, said that while these proposals were framed as mutually beneficial, most serve United States interests as the cost of India's economic and strategic priorities. United States Secretary of the Commerce. Going to science and tech, we have L&T bets on the space exploration as India expands private rocket and satellite industry. Larsen and Toubro said it is a betting on aerospace. At this factory in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, L&T is assembling the country's first privately built polar satellite launch vehicle, PSLV, a mainstay of ISRO's launch program, through consortium with the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The conglomerate Larsen & Toubro has said it is betting on aerospace as a potential growth engine, including the launch vehicle and satellite manufacturing, as the country cuts reliance on the imports and boosts private participation. L&T considered a bellwether for India's infrastructure spending because of how many industries it works it touches. It is the country's largest private sector defense manufacturer by revenue. Its precision engineering and system unit posted a revenue of 46.10 billion rupees, that is $548.3 million in the 2024 fiscal year, up to 41% from the previous year. At its factory in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, L&T is assembling the country's first privately built polar satellite launch vehicle, PSLV, a mainstay of ISRO's launch program through a consortium with the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It is also building equipment for ISRO's other deep space exploration programs. The company hopes to scale up its space business aim with India's privatization push, which has eased foreign investments limits and allocated a large share of procurement budgets away from state-run enterprises. We have decades of experience in high-tech manufacturing critical systems and scaling up production. The same expertise applies to aerospace at Ramchandani, Senior Vice President head of the L&T Precision Engineering and System, told editors in an interview at the factory. L&T's plans intersect with India's strategy to position the countries as a leading space power, with the Prime Minister Modi's comment pushing for the industry to become a force for further economic growth. The country hopes to liberalize regulations allowing private firms to design, build, and operate launch services will attract global players, mirroring the commercial space boom seen in the United States and Europe. The first launch of the privately built PSLV, booster delayed from early 2025, is expected to occur by mid-year, though an exact date had not yet been decided. Ramchandani has said each rocket costs about $30 million. Clearly, when we are getting into a business like this, it is with an eye to the global market. Ramchandani said there is a demand for timely and cost-effective launches, especially as the satellite constellations grow. So, if we can provide availability, reliability, and cost advantages, India can be competitive. Experts discuss role of low sodium salt substitutes in reducing hypertension. World Health Organization's guidelines on the role of the low sodium alternatives must be communicated effectively to the public, say experts. The 6th World Hypertension Congress 2025 held at the Chennai Trade Center discussed the role of the low sodium salt substitutes LSSS. Low sodium salt substitutes in reducing hypertension while also addressing critical gaps in awareness, accessibility, and policy support. Organized by the George Institute for Global Health in collaboration with the Resolve to Save Lives, the event stressed the urgent need to integrate LSSS into public health strategies. Vivekanand Jha of the George Institute opened the session by pointing out the need to address the high salt intake, which could lead to hypertension through a combined effort from the government, healthcare providers, and the public. In this panel discussion that followed, Meena Kashi, Bajaj distinction at the Tamil Nadu Government Multi-Super Speciality Hospital stressed the importance of the nutritional literacy and referred to the World Health Organization guidelines on the sodium intake, emphasizing the need for reducing the dietary salt to combat hypertension. Artificial intelligence beyond ChatGPT. What does it mean to be human in an age of thinking machines? Humanoid robot Sophia with the synapse Soma Chaudhary and David Hanson and of Hanson Robotics, which developed her. The core intention was the interaction between the science and tech and society, says Soma Chaudhary, journalist and a founder director of the Synapse, and the firm behind it. Listed Lines Productions, while last year's edition matched AI with the quantum technology and biotechnologies. This year, the team focused on the brain, life science, and bioengineering, artificial intelligence, the life sciences, material sciences, climate change. They are all covering typically science and tech conferences are very B2B. And for instance, you will have a cryptocurrency or a fintech conference or an AI conference. However, making visible the interaction between all these sciences, its potentials and opportunities, but also its ethics and impacts on society. Jewelry continues for the 1,500 strong audience, which included entrepreneurs, doctors, dancing high coaches, Congress Chief Rahul Gandhi, people from the ministries, architects, artists, even those from the Bollywood. These were a sense of learning something entirely new and its relevance to one's life. Take for instance the debate around the technology giving access to the inner working of the brain and need for the laws to regulate this. Lawyer and artificial intelligence ethicist Nita Farhan, a Synapse speaker also known for her TED talk on the right to mental privacy in the age of AI, has been often highlighted how we are quickly moving into the world where what one is thinking and feeling is just as transparent and can be just as easily decoded using AI and neutral technology. Last year, in an interview with the Manoj Zamurdi, the host of TED Radio Hour from NPR, she pointed out that while consumer neurotech devices could finally enable us to treat our brain health and wellness as seriously as we treat the rest of our physical well-being, and the regular use of brain sensors could even enable us to detect the earliest stages of the most aggressive forms of the brain tumors. All of this will only be possible if people can confidently share their brain data without fear that it will be missed against them. Is there a link between the use of painkillers and kidney disease? Has some representation. As World Kidney Day comes up on March 13, look at how NSAIDs impact kidney health. Chronic kidney disease (CKD), as per Kidney Disease Improving Global Outcomes (KDIGO), is defined as estimated glomerular filtration rate EGFR less than 60 milliliter per minute per 1.73 m2 for at least 3 months. The presence of the markers of kidney damage, urinary abnormalities, structural abnormalities. The prevalence of kidney disease in our country varies from 3 to 10% based on various studies underlying the importance of the developing a national registry. The incidence of kidney disease is also on the rise, with over 1 lakh new patients requiring renal replacement therapy, dialysis, renal transplantation annually. Cause of the kidney disease, various ailments contributing to kidney disease included diabetes mellitus, hypertension, obesity, medicine causing kidney injury, inflammation of the kidney, urological causes, and other diseases of the body affecting the kidney. Celebrating women achievers, a professor who could on plastic recycling point to the plastic metal hook. IIT Mumbai, Professor Indumati M. Nambi and her students had devised a simple contraception that is echoing invaluable of residents of Kasturba Nagar in dealing with the plastic waste. The academician and her students want this initiative to be benefit other residential areas in Chennai as well. Indumati M. Numbi does not want to let the plastic waste of the hooks or in our believer. In half major, she brings a real hook into her campaign, a hook designed by her students and her guidance. A professor with the Environment and Water Resources Division of the Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Madras, Indumati shapes opinions about environment issues not just inside the classroom but outside as well, and given her influence in sustainability circles, this hook one designed to point the plastic found a rarely attacker in residents of Kasturbangar Association Roka adopted it when it launched its segregate project with the support of Okapi Research and Treasury in October month of 2023. Point to the plastic contraceptions are available in the market, but Roka wanted to go in for something locally devised to make a complete the picture of the sustainability. The IIT Madras had devised the hook at its work station, and around World Sustainability Day, October 26, 2022, it unveiled the hook as the part of which point the plastic dry. Here's how it works: using milk packets, snack wrappers, and other flimsy plastics that were usually carelessly disposed of. Sometimes they even allowed to fly halter skelter would now be nailed and kept in waiting till enough is accumulated for a recycler to arrive and whisk the branch of a plastics away thanks to the sturdy metal hook. Indramati and her students at IIT Madras are working on expanding the initiative to more residential areas. Given its low cost and ease of use, the model can be adopted anywhere with the least amount of the fuss. The reality is plastic use is not going away anytime soon. She says, but if we stop treating it as garbage and start treating it as the resource, the way we manage it will change entirely. The Marrow Hook marks only a minor milestone in the Indumati and her students' team's journey toward addressing the plastic pandemic. Here is a glimpse into an ambitious project at IIT Madras. They developed a pyrolysis plant using which a multi-material, multi-layered plastic packaging. Examples include chips, plastic bags, and Tetra Pak cartons, aluminum laminated wrappers, and composite materials, amongst others, that previously had no recycling pathways are now broken down into oil with the properties similar to the diesel. In addition to the one in IITM, the team has parked a demo plant at Birungundi. Now, at last, there's a famous prophet who is known by his famous name. Prophet Ibrahim والسلام, was a prophet and a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the Islam, and an ancestor to the Islamic Arabs and Israelites. Ibrahim والسلام, plays a prominent role as an example of the faith in the Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the Muslims particularly believe Ibrahim والسلام, fulfilled all the commandments of trials when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nurtured him throughout his lifetime. As a result of his unwavering faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be a leader to all the nations of the world. The Quran extols Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam as a model, an exemplar, obedient, and not an idolater. In this sense, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam has been described as representing primordial man in the universal surrender to the divine reality before its fragmentation into the religious, separated from each other by differences in the form. Muslims believe that the Kaaba in Mecca al-Mukarramah was built by Ibrahim والسلام, and his son Ismail والسلام, as the first house of worship on earth. The Islamic holiday Eid al-Adha is celebrated in commemoration of Ibrahim والسلام's willingness to sacrifice his son on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command, as well as the end of the Hajj pilgrimage to the Kaaba. Muslims believe that Ibrahim والسلام, became the leader of the righteousness in his time, and that it was through him والسلام, that Andanite Arabs and Israelites came. Ibrahim والسلام, in the belief of Islam, was instrumental in cleansing the world of idolatry at the time. Paganism was cleared out by Ibrahim والسلام, in the both Arabian Peninsula and Canaan. He والسلام, spirituality purified both places, as well as the physically sanctifying the house of the worship of Ibrahim والسلام, and Ismail والسلام, further established the rites of pilgrimage or Hajj, which are still followed by the Muslims. Today, Muslims maintain that Ibrahim والسلام, asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless both the lineage of his progeny, of Ismail والسلام, and Ishaq والسلام, and to keep all of his descendants in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Great Fire, the decision to have Ibrahim والسلام, burned at the stake, was affirmed by the temple priestess and the king of Babylon, Nimrod. The devil spread like a fire in the kingdom, and people were coming from the foul places to watch the execution. A huge pit was dug up, and a large quantity of wood was built up. Then the biggest fire people ever witnessed was lit. The flames were so high up in the sky that even the birds could not fly over it for fear of being burnt themselves. Ibrahim والسلام's hands and feet were chained, and he was put in a catapult ready to be thrown in. During this time, Angel Jibreel والسلام, came to him and said, "O Ibrahim والسلام, is there anything you wish for?" Ibrahim والسلام could have asked to be saved from the fire or to be taken away, but Ibrahim والسلام, replied, "Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient for me. He والسلام, is the best. He subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best disposer of my affairs." The catapult was released, and Ibrahim والسلام, was thrown into the fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gave an order to the fire, "O fire, be coolness and safety over Ibrahim والسلام." A miracle occurred. The fire obeyed and burned only his chains. Ibrahim والسلام, came out from it as if he was coming out from the garden peacefully, his face illuminated and not a trace of smoke on his clothes. People watched in shock and exclaimed, "Amazing! Ibrahim والسلام, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has saved him from the fire." Confrontation with the Nimrod. The Quran discusses a very short conversation between an unrighteous ruler and Ibrahim والسلام, although the king in the Quran is unnamed, and this factor has been recognized as being least important in a narrative outside of the Quran, namely in the same of the tafsir. This king has been suggested to be Nimrod. This tafsir by Ibn Kathir, a 14th century scholar, has many embellishments in the narrative, like Nimrod claiming divinity for himself. The tafsir describes the Nimrod quarrel with Ibrahim والسلام. Now Nimrod became extremely angry, and in his utter disbelief and arrogant rebellion became a tyrant. Ibrahim والسلام, in the eyes of many Muslims, also symbolized the highest moral values essential to any person. The Quran details the account of the angels coming to Ibrahim والسلام, to tell him of the birth of Ismail والسلام. It says that as soon as Ibrahim والسلام, the messengers, he hastened to entertain them with the roasted calf. This action has been interpreted by all the scholars as exemplary. Many scholars have commented upon this one action, saying that it symbolizes Ibrahim والسلام's exceedingly high moral level, and thus is a model for how men should act in a similar situation. This incident has only further heightened the compassionate character of Ibrahim والسلام, in Muslim theology. The classical Quran exegete and historian Tabari offered two versions whom Ibrahim والسلام, was offered to sacrifice. According to the first strand, Ibrahim والسلام, wished for a righteous son, whereupon an angel appeared to him informing him that he will get a righteous son. But when he was born and reached puberty, he must be sacrificed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Later, the angel appeared to Hagar to inform her about the upcoming child. When Ismail والسلام, was grown, someone appeared to Ibrahim والسلام, invites him to keep his vow. The second strand provided by Tabari states that Ibrahim والسلام, was about to sacrifice his son Ismail والسلام, and Iblis appeared in the form of a man to prevent the sacrifice. This great sacrifice denotes the importance of the ram that it replaced Ibrahim والسلام's son. Tafsir Ibn Kathir records Ibn Abbas' explanation of the verse. According to the Muhammad والسلام's teachings, the explanation is as follows: and we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. In Surah number 37, ayat or number 107, it was reported that Ibn Abbas, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be blessed with him, said a ram which had grazed in paradise for 40 years. From that day onwards, every Eid al-Adha, once a year, Muslims around the world slaughter an animal to commemorate Ibrahim والسلام's sacrifice and remind themselves of self-abnegation in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they would share the meat among friends, family, the poor and the needy. This is called Qurbani, the sacrifice. Okay, thank you.